Well, let's look at what we have by way of our news portal.
Yes, indeed. And this is how we're doing the review today. Obviously, no newspapers, but lots and lots of news on myjoyonline.com. Shall we start with this one? Blame Ghanaians for assisting protecting Chinese illegal miners. And that's according to the Chinese ambassador. Fascinating story here of how in Cape Coast at the Confucius Institute of the university, he made this point in response to questions about whether or not Chinese government are doing enough in Ghana's fight against Galamsey, and he made some very interesting points. We'll talk a bit more about it later, but let's see what else is up this morning. There's a video from an interview with Emma Morrison, who says she would have been a backing singer if she hadn't ended up in this profession, and thank the Lord that she did, because the whole nation is better for it. Okay. Professional footballers to boycott social media for 24 hours in racism protest. Ah, that's interesting. Well, what do you think? Who will feel the pressure of this one when they boycott social media for 24 hours?
I'm thinking if they have sponsors, and many of these celebrities and professional footballers, as well as other public people, have a lot of following.
That's
and so
right.
if they have some form of contract with producers of various items, and so they are ambassadors or brand ambassadors for them, then perhaps they will feel it. But I don't think that the public.
But what role are the sponsors playing in racism? Why must they be put under pressure in order to solve the problem?
Exactly. Perhaps they ultimately then will put pressure on the government in the respective countries in which
Is it up to government? When football supporters, racist supporters, turn up and abuse footballers, what can government do about it?
Well, the thing is that the football is governed by various associations, and ultimately then we have the continental bodies, and they are expected to take the decisions, because even though the continental bodies are made up of the respective countries, the various associations also represent those countries on the continental bodies, and so the countries have a role to play to exert some form of pressure indirectly through their football associations. So
well,
that's how
let's see if 24 hours.
Because the observation is that they don't exert enough pressure and don't seem to have the authority to.
So if you're right, then what the footballers are doing is they are putting pressure on their sponsors, so that sponsors will put pressure on governments. First of all,
I think ultimately,
the sponsors might be from countries whose governments have nothing to do with racism, but then they will put pressure on government, and then governments will put pressure on football bodies.
Kind of.
I don't really see.
Because the first time I saw it, I said, who cares? I mean, well. Because if you can just go do away with 24 hours visiting the page, I don't know how many people even.
Who will feel the pressure? Anyway, let's go on. Let's move on. Let's see what else we have going on myjoyonline.com. There's an audio. NDC will abolish luxury vehicles tax. That's according to former President John Mahama. Dr. Duchum details plan to transform Ghana into learning nation. What are we at the moment? Emirates rolls out special Easter menus. Good for them. Jailing Chinese Galamsey Queen won't solve Ghana's problems, senior minister. And I think we should discuss those two stories together. The first one about the Chinese ambassador, and this one. And also on myjoyonline.com this morning, JHS 1 pupil drops out of school following pregnancy. I'm not sure whether she's dropping out or she's being denied the opportunity to go to school, but either way, it has something to do with her pregnancy. Right. So yes, apparently she's being denied. So that headline should not say drops out of school. She didn't drop out. Okay. Also, contractor terminates 5,000 Saglemi housing project and asks for compensation. Yeah, this is what we're doing to our nation. This discussion about how governments treat contractors, we have to talk about it one of these days. Yeah. All right. Well, I think this appears to be the thrust of it. PDS blames Gridco for Thursday's intermittent power outages. And today at the newsstands, yesterday at the newsstands, so you'll see what was there. And dust not settled on approved Bono regional minister. And that's the hint from the minority. There are also some sports stories on myjoyonline.com.
But she's been approved, and then we've had a swearing-in
Yes.
ceremony.
But what they're saying is that the particular issues that delayed her approval are not done with, and that they intend to keep interrogating those issues, not just in relation to whether she should be a minister or not, but for the sake of propriety, right? Okay, sports stories. Superb Lacazette, have I said his name right?
Lacazette.
Lacazette, free kick takes Arsenal into Europa League last 4. Chelsea hold off spirited Slavia Prague to reach Europa League semi-finals. You guys must be over the moon. And Monte Carlo Masters, Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal are through. Entertainment news, Adum FM music chart is out, and you can see what's happening in week 15. Famia's Nothing I Get and Kofi Mole's Don't Be Late are on the rise. Kofi Mole getting lots and lots of attention recently. Right, now let's open up these stories about the Chinese ambassador and what we heard the senior minister saying about Aisha Huan. Now, guys, if we can very quickly load the video of
the senior minister.
He was speaking at a town hall meeting in the United States, and he was answering a question about why this particular lady, Aisha Huan, was set free and sent home, deported, when she was actually caught and charged with illegal mining. Why was she not prosecuted? Why was she sent home? And please, if we can load that up, I know we have it on our platforms, so please, let's get it up. It's important to our conversation. But as you recall, Roland, what he said in the video was that we have several agreements with China. They are behind the Sino-Hydro deal. It's one of the biggest infrastructure. Here we are. Let's watch him. Let's hear what he had to say.
Where did you go for free?
This company, the one that's going to help process our bauxite and provide about $2 billion to us. So when there are these kind of agreements, there are other things behind the scenes. Putting that lady in jail in Ghana is not going to solve your economic problem. It's not going to make you happy or me happy. That's not important. The most important thing that is being imported out of Ghana. So we must not say it's not wrong. I'm saying that there are many other things beyond what you see in these matters. And everybody is wide awake. The most important thing is that we have planned this, we have established the relationship, and we are protecting our environment. And that is far more important than one Chinese woman who has This one is about database. We have special departments.
Yes, we must apologize for the quality of the audio there. But in essence, what the senior minister said in response to the question about why Aisha Huan was not prosecuted for illegal mining is that Ghana has several deals with China, Sino-Hydro being the most prominent one. It's responsible for so much of our infrastructural provisions. And so actually prosecuting Aisha Huan would not have solved the problem. The important thing is that she has been deported. And you could hear members of the audience shouting about how it would have set an example. It would have set an example if we had prosecuted her. But this is just one of many opinions on this. Of course, the interesting thing now is that the Chinese ambassador, speaking to Richard Kojo Nyakon, has now opened up a different aspect of the conversation. He is saying, look, he's actually quite surprised at how Ghana is dealing with this problem, and that the Chinese don't know where our gold is. When they come, it is Ghanaians that help them to find the gold and exploit it. and that the Ghana government doesn't inform them when they are deporting someone. This suggests that in the case of Aisha Huan, the Chinese government didn't demand or request that she be deported. They were not even informed that she was being deported. It was a decision the Ghanaian government made on their own. So is it true when they tell us that this is in some way to protect the Sino-Hydro deal, if the Chinese don't even know what they are doing? This is the question that I have on my mind right now, Ro. And I've got to say, I mean, I've always been suspicious of Aisha Huan's influence. I believe that it was through money. That was my personal belief, that she was bribing the right people. That's why she was always being set free. What the senior minister said was suggesting that it was political. Her influence was political, and that the government itself was more interested in deporting her than prosecuting her, punishing her for exploiting our resources. But now we're hearing the Chinese say that actually we don't know what you people are doing. We don't care what you people are doing. If you catch a criminal, prosecute them. So why didn't we?
I see this as more of a diplomatic gaffe, especially on our part, and also our inability to take a certain stance when it comes to wrongs that have been done by so-called multinationals, for which we tend to trade with their countries very often. And also brings into sharp focus what the commitment is of our government over the years, and has been over the years, when it comes to exploitation of our resources, and whether parochial interests always come to play. And you can see that the response of the senior minister consistently over the period, and per the commentary and the opinion that has been formed personally and many other related people, not only on mainstream media but also on social media, you get to the position that it looks like that commitment is not there from a government that we have elected into office, or governments that we have elected into office. Now, let's take a critical look at this. If it was a Ghanaian, and we've seen Ghanaians being prosecuted for this, yes, they made money. They also have influences, and so-called, they may also be giving money to people. But at what point do we have to make the decision that because we have opened some form of financial negotiations with a big country or player in the global political world like China, and so we have to say that, look, the right that we have to be able to exert that influence and punish all wrongdoers, we're cutting back on that right because we feel that we're going to get something from you. Is that how we've been able to deal with all the expatriate companies and individuals who have come to exploit our resources? It looks like that's how it's been. And it's across the West African, the sub-Saharan terrain. You look at how Shell tends to dissipate oil resources, and the way they have not been transparent in Nigeria, and the need for the Nigerian government, for example, to take such decisions on behalf of their citizens. Then you see that has been lacking. In Ghana, you take a look at the response of the senior minister. It means that government is willing to shortchange ordinary citizens at the detriment of so-called international citizens and international partners. To what end? And to whose benefit? Is it to the individuals in government or to government in general? And I don't think that the government of China will enter into any negotiation with any African country. Either they're going to exploit their resources or exploit, and so make money at the end of the day. But when citizens of those countries, let's say, are involved in actions, and particularly when you're involved in drug trafficking, you're executed straight away. And they will not be executed or be set free. It won't happen. So why is it that our government are willing to do that? It's a question that we have to ask ourselves.
Indeed. And it goes to a number of issues. Corruption, first of all. Because clearly, I mean, this is not by what we've heard from the Chinese ambassador. This is not a state action. It is not some sort of sanctioned legal use of executive power. This is connection.
Definitely.
You understand? Yeah.
Because we have to take the Chinese ambassador's word to be a representation of what the memo or perhaps the directive or notice is across all diplomatic consulates of the Chinese government.
Or at the very least, the instruction he has received from his, his superiors in China, whether it's across or to him, at least that's...
And any emissary or ambassador of China speaking anywhere in the world is speaking on behalf of the Chinese government.
Let's actually hear what he said. We have it here.
We are not the owners. Chinese people don't know where there is a gold. If you don't issue visas to Chinese people cannot enter into your country. They don't know where is the money. They cannot able to enter your country. How could we be able to do diplomacy in your country? Why? The question should be answered. Why? That is the support of the local people. It's very clear. Without your collaboration, without your support, how could we Chinese people be able to do diplomacy in your own country? Why don't we go to, South Africa? South Africa is very famous for gold. Ghana, you are famous for gold, but you are #1 country. South Africa is #1 in the world. And then now Russia is also #1. South Africa is the second, I believe. Why don't we go to South Africa and Russia to do diplomacy? It's not possible because local people don't support us. But in Ghana, some people, I can honestly say some people, the local people, collaborating with a small number of the local Chinese people doing diplomacy. If you want to stop the diplomacy in your own country, you have to punish your own people first. Otherwise, you cannot solve this problem because we don't know where is the gold. You lead us. You show us. You make joint work with us. So.
He further called for the tightening of the nation's border security to help reduce Chinese nationals coming to the country illegally.
But our position is very, very clear. Chinese government, we will not tolerate any Chinese citizen doing illegal things in the other countries. Diplomacy is illegal. Anytime when your police people arrest Chinese people doing diplomacy, if you inform to our embassy, we will repatriate them back to China immediately. No tolerance, no tolerance. But the reality...
This thing is an indictment, eh?
It is.
A serious indictment of the people of Ghana and our government, particularly the senior minister who has just suggested to Ghanaians in the United States that we have no choice. Our hands are tied when it comes to dealing with Chinese who operate illegally in this country. He suggests that we don't have a choice. In fact, it is in our interest to let them go. The most important thing is that she has been deported. Really? Really? We sent her home. She committed crimes and we sent her home. And her compatriots, the Ghanaians that she did this with, where are they? Have they also been sent home? Have they also been released? Where will we deport them to? Or we've just sent them back into the community. Go and sin no more. And you see how we've just vacated justice?
And if you take a response and analyze the response of the Chinese ambassador, it's just concise and straight to the point. He says that because the Chinese people who come into your country, our country, Ghana, come and get the help or get the collusion from local people, the government of our country, Ghana, need to have a certain position to punish locals. And when that punishment is meted out to the letter, then there's no local who will even have the affront to go collude.
Yes.
So if you're a Chinese, and I don't believe that the Chinese enter Ghana illegally. If you look at how many hours you have to fly from China, it's about 18 hours.
Exactly.
You fly 18 hours to come to Ghana. And before you fly, you would have gotten an entry visa. So they don't come in illegally. We may think that they are undertaking illegal activities, but they don't come in illegally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
and so once we are able to punish our own, not go and do any face-saving activity and bring the media and go and film and later leave them, there's no way any Ghanaian will have the audacity to collude with the Chinese or any other national who wants to operate in the field in Galamsey sector. It won't happen.
Absolutely.
But because we treat ourselves with kid gloves. We don't have the commitment.
No, we don't treat ourselves with kid gloves. We've seen the police being brutal on Ghanaians. So it's not kid gloves. It's corruption. It's corruption. If we let a Ghanaian go, I mean, we can't deport him. He's Ghanaian. So if we let them go, it's because they paid us to do so, or paid the government to do so. All right? And in fact, the senior minister's response is shocking the more you think about it. The more you think about it. So he puts it all on the neck of Sinohydro or Sinohydro or whatever.
Innocent agreement.
We've read the agreement. Does it say in there that Ghana shall release all prisoners from China no matter what they've done? Does it say that in there?
It doesn't.
Does it say China shall release China one?
If you look at the master facility agreement, it doesn't.
No. So where are they getting that from? Where are they getting that from? Or is it slave mentality? It can't be. It must be financial consideration. So the people who are individually making money from Sinohydro are afraid to mess up the deal so that their money won't come. So essentially, they are willing to release Chinese criminals and send them home rather than prosecute them and keep our country sovereign. So first of all, we are giving out visas willy-nilly. Go to the Chinese embassy in Ghana. The stories that we have been hearing and are working to corroborate, I won't repeat them here because we haven't got the evidence yet. But the ways in which Chinese people get visas, we must ask questions about it. Then they fly their 18 hours to this country, come and do whatever they like. They certainly don't come and do what they said they were coming for. They do what they like. When we catch them, we just send them home. That's all we do. We have given up our sovereignty. It's a shock. And we've done this for $3 billion.
And you know the response
which we haven't yet received, by the way. They say that some of the money has hit our accounts. We have to interrogate that. Whether it's not the bond that we are spending.
The senior minister's response is a response of convenience. And of course, it's better he goes to give that response to Ghanaians in the diaspora because, of course, they don't know what really is happening.
Oh, and, they do.
Well,
they clearly do.
Yeah, because there was no reciprocal interrogation also.
Oh, there was. You could hear the members of the audience
saying...
There
were murmurings, but there was nobody who stood up boldly to say that.
Well, we don't know. We haven't seen the whole video. Anyway, but look, the important thing is this. It is our duty to ask questions. It is our duty to face our government and speak truth to power. Are we still a sovereign nation? Are we? If the Chinese can come here, do what they like, and we'll send them home, are we still a sovereign nation? If we don't punish Ghanaians who do the wrong thing, who mine illegally, if members of the group that we set up, the team that we set up to oversee mining in our country are accused of taking bribes, and they still remain presidential staffers drawing a salary, are we a sovereign nation of laws? It's shocking that these things should be happening at a time when our president is a lawyer, but that's the reality, and we should sit together, interrogate it, and solve this problem. We can't. This cannot be the best Ghana can do.
Yeah, definitely. But we also know that it's your 70th birthday today. Mr. John Kwabneje, you're a retired staff of UMB Bank, and it's from your daughter, Danisia Pomeje, here at Multimedia. Happy birthday.